Hello, welcome back, or welcome in. This one took longer than I expected. It's pretty in-depth, probably my most detailed league starter as of yet. I really wanted to make something to bridge the gap between league start and the GOLEMXODIA setup from my last video, which had Forbidden Rite as the endgame setup. So I settled on cold damage over time for leveling. You definitely don't have to level up with cold damage over time. There's a lot of options, but that's what I have in this guide. So yeah. Gonna do a quick overview of POB. So we have our loadouts. There's a bunch of different leveling loadouts, and then 3 maps / endgame loadouts for the cold damage over time. And then I put in the minimum setup that you need to do the Forbidden Rite Poison Elementalist build. And then I also put in a couple trees to compare to that build. One of them's without any golem jewels, really, just passive tree and what you can get without buying anything. One of them has a bunch of eminence jewels, which should be cheap-ish, depending how popular things are. And then one of them has the Megalomaniacs, which could be cheap if the build's not popular at all, but if it is, then they're going to be very expensive. So yeah, those are the loadouts. Make sure you guys, if you're going over this build, check the notes section. There's a lot of stuff in here. The skills section is very detailed for each one's very detailed. As you can see, main skills, auras, other. I try to put notes in here too if something special is happening for a certain breakpoint. And then the items section doesn't really get complicated until large cluster. Leveling is just like random gear that should be pretty easy to find or set up. And if you guys are interested in the slightly more complicated things, there's the configs as well. One note I do have is we're helping Alira out for the 15% elemental resistance until I think the second large cluster one. Until you need the passive points, pretty much. This 15 all res is really good. But yeah, those are all the different sections you should look at. Now I'm going to go over the leveling loadouts one by one. I'm not going to go super in depth. I'll scan through them after the first one or few and note any important aspects of each. But here's the tree. I tried to do it where each, like, you're either getting new skills to set up when there's a new loadout, or there's like a different branch you're taking on the passive tree. So it should be really easy to follow. Levels 1 through 12 using Stormblast Mine and Orb of Storms. It's not cold damage over time. This is just a strong setup very early on. And we're switching to cold damage over time right after this. But I mentioned how to use them in there. But yeah, let's move on. Levels 12 through 16, cold damage over time. You get your first abilities for that. Creeping Frost. I put Pack Clear on there, but You should be using it for single target as well. And then winter brand, I think you should only use for single target. But you can try using it for packs as well. This isn't like set in stone, so feel free to use both. And then frost bomb, you're only using it for cold exposure really. It'll be a damage boost on single target. Now go to 16 to 28. Yeah, so at this point you're running out of sockets because we have 3 main skills that you should be using. So feel free to combine them in the same links, like Wintertide Brand and Creeping Frost could be together and linked to Arcane Surge, or Cold Snap could be linked with Creeping Frost. Really, you just make sure you have all 3 of these, and using Cold Snap. Cold Snap will be your biggest damage, but it has a cooldown usually, so just use that whenever it's off cooldown. Other important points: Purity of Elements at level 27, you'll equip it. Actually, level 24. I don't know why that was. Yeah, so level 24, you'll equip Purity of Elements. Vitality, not mandatory. So yeah, I'll move on to the next. Oh, oops, sorry. I forgot to look at the trees. They're pretty straightforward. The previous one looks like that, and then 16 to 28 looks like this. They're just really going in one direction, so you can just fill out the nodes as you go through. 16 to 28 skills are about the same. Or those are the ones we already looked at. So yes, 28 to 38 is a pretty big jump. We get a lot of new skills. We're getting cold exposure on here, and we're getting the golem nodes. Go over the skills. We get vortex. So here it's pretty much mandatory to start combining stuff in links. You might or might not have found 4 links already. So these are just your goal to have these sockets set up. Not mandatory, but you can try and have them look like that. Nothing new for auras. I disabled vitality. Says after you get stone golem, you can scrap it. You don't really need vitality ever, but the life regeneration is kind of nice early. But yeah, we get our golems finally here. I chose flame and stone. They're pretty strong early on. After you get cold exposure, you can drop frost bomb. Moving on. 38 to 54. You're starting to move along the tree. We're getting the new cold masteries. If you can find gear with a lot of cold res, I'll go over this again later, but this is really important. This mastery gives a ton of cold damage over time multiplier. It's really strong. And then this one gives level 2 all cold skills. The minus fire res might hurt early on, so if you're getting chunked by fire damage, you'll want to unspec out of that, but both of those are huge damage boosts throughout the game. For skills, we're putting in 2 more golems because you should have done the ascendancy by now, between 38 and 54. You could even do it before then, but that's what I have on here. So you get 2 more golems, which is big, really big. And then, yeah, I guess adding convocation if you want to use it. Not super important, but it's a nice to have. Moving on, 54 to 67. Just filling out some stuff down here. We're getting a lot of AoE right there, some damage. Nothing like of huge to know. I think we got rid of these over there. Yeah, unspec'd out of some stuff. You may or may not notice as you're leveling, but it's not like a huge deal if you don't do that. It's just a little more efficient doing it that way. Yeah, so I put in a note here. You need to have found items with stats on them by this point in order to equip some of these gems. I recommend Citrine Amulet. So hopefully you've gotten something like that. I have 5 links in here because you might have dropped one, but I disabled it. But it shows you the gems you can use for 5 links if you found one. And for the people that dropped a tabula this early, I guess I'll put in another gem. All right, I put in a 6 link there just for the people that found it out earlier. They could also have just looked further ahead and decided what to do from there. But yeah, that's about all that's new on here. More links, telling you how to use them, I guess, a little bit. The tree we already went over. So move on to the last. This is the last leveling one. You'll have completed the campaign at this point, and be into maps. So we have on the tree, mana reserve. This is very important right there. And there was some respecking too. You can compare. Not much, just this part. Which isn't like mandatory, but it is, they buffed Arcane Surge, so it's pretty good. You'll want to do that eventually. But yeah, mana reserve is super important. We're running another ore because of that. Malevolence, which is a almost 20% damage boost. And I put the items that you should socket, since we're pretty much full on sockets at this point. You don't have to socket stuff into each of these like specific slots. I guess the only mandatory piece is the 5 link, if you have one. But yeah, so this is to help you, I guess, think about where to place stuff. There is one extra socket on the gloves to use. And then there is, I guess that's all. It's very socket. You're going to be tight in sockets, but yeah, that's why I listed that. Yeah, so I think that's about all I'll go over for the leveling section. Hopefully it's pretty easy for someone new to follow. If anything's confusing, then leave some comments for me and I'll try and fix the POB. Also, I didn't really go over the ascendancy points. The first one was golems. And then golems is mandatory. The second one's, I guess, a little more flexible. I think this is the strongest node you can take early on, though. And then the third one is even more flexible. Really, you should experiment with this third one. This is very strong. It'll give us 20% damage reduction, pretty much. This one's really good. It reduces physical hits. It's really hard to find physical damage reduction in this game, so that one's very strong for defense as well. Shaper of Storm is really good for offense. I think I listed all this in the notes. And then Primal, or the Bastion of Elements, is very good for defense, elemental defense. So play with stuff and see what feels good. I have this one clicked. It has AoE and damage. It's a really strong node. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can play around with. The only one we won't take is a Springer of Ruin. Not using that. Okay, now I'm going to go over the first, like, what did I list it as? One sec. Yeah, for this first large cluster setup, one large cluster means we're using one of these primordial bond clusters, and it also, you should be able to clear 2 watchstones with this type of gear. DPS is really good. Not super tanky, but shouldn't matter at this point in the game. So yeah, we're using one primordial bond, which is the configs. I have it here. The calculations for one primordial bond. It's really a pain in the ass calculating or min-maxing right now, because I have to put in one of these or one of these for each of the different jewels I'm using, and then like look at the numbers. So looking forward to the update on POP to actually get like the min-max done. But yeah, I'm not gonna go over the specifics on the tree. If you have questions about anything, just ask. Every node's pretty important though. If you don't have enough points, I can tell you where to go specifically in the situation, but yeah, it's 87 levels, so it's not like it shouldn't take forever to get there. It's an underestimate. Then for skills, I guess I still have a 5 link. I'm going to add another gem here. One sec. Okay. Just in case you have a 6 link at this point, very possible. I put the 6th gem down. I put in like a 5 link here because getting the defenses is more important than the 6 link. But you might have a 6 link at this point. We changed the auras up a little bit. Purity of elements is dropped. You can still use purity of elements instead of zealotry or malevolence, but I dropped it here. Petrified blood, super important. It's giving us huge max hits because we're using low life at this point to get the more spell damage from Bane Attunement. I showed the golems disabled here because the calculations are in the config, but you should have them all in your boots or whatever, 4-socket really. And then this right here is to simulate having the max number of golems. We need this because of the primordial bond node, which is giving us an increase in damage. I guess I could calculate it in the configs too, but this is an easier way to do that. This just simulates having the max number of golems. Yeah, I think I don't really need to go over anything else. Yeah, so I guess this part, these are disabled, but you can and should use one of these other gems. They're defensive and very like situational defense, pretty important. People hate it when you enable them though in the POB, so I have them disabled right now. Hopefully that's not confusing for anyone. Yeah, so this is 4.8 mil DPS. Max hits again aren't great, but the gear is not great either. I guess these wands or these scepters are pretty decent. You don't need really any of the mods. You're just looking for damage scepters. Plus gems is the most important one if you can find one. Crafting minion damage is an easy way to get an extra boost out of there. This helmet should be cheap. It's very strong for cold damage over time. It's pretty much a late game helmet. You can use it throughout the game, especially if you get plus gems on there for a corruption. And it shouldn't be expensive. We'll see though. 5 link, energy shield, life. You don't have to use Dodri's gloves. If you're not going to use these gloves, just get like ES life gloves. They're just a damage boost though. That's why we're using them. The rest of the gear is just life, life res. Try and get a lot of cold resistance for this mastery, if possible. That's going to be a big damage boost. It doesn't show in the POB right now because it's not working, but hopefully it works in game. Yeah. Oh, and you really need 75 chaos res in order to run the low life. Like this mastery and the chaos res are extremely important. So make sure you have 75 chaos res before using low life. Hopefully someone's gonna die to chaos damage and be like, this build sucks. So yeah, this is that breakpoint's extremely important, and I think I have it in the notes. Oh, and one more thing that's important is this flask. Try and get a sapphire flask with charges when hit and used when chargers are full. This is going to be a really big damage and defense boost. Mostly damage, a little bit of defense. But yeah, should be easy to find something like that and cheap. Okay. I'll move on to the next loadout. Yeah, so this is endgame stuff right here. I listed, should be able to clear all bosses with this. All bosses, non-Uber, and then maybe some Ubers. These numbers aren't completely accurate because it's not calculating this and some of the configs. Like we're missing skill gems and the leveled up golems. So the numbers are going to be better than what's showing here. And also 100, level 100 is not needed. In the notes section, I listed some passive points that you can get rid of. Mostly just like damage or yeah, you'll see in the notes section. And if you need more passives to get rid of, like you're not high enough level but you want to switch over because your gear is better, I'll add more to the notes section. Just let me know. But yeah, so it's called 2 large clusters. We have 2 of these primordial bond clusters now. Guess we'll look at the items. The gear is good. It's gonna take like a bit to farm up stuff like this. But yeah, just start shooting for it. Once you hit the 1 large cluster, you can start looking at this stuff. +2 to gems. Dark Seer. The Life ES Dark Seer is really good. Try and get your hand on one of these if possible. Like even if it's just this one says +2 to max life and ES, but even if it's like just the ES or just the life, this is a really strong weapon for the build. It's defensive and offensive. And you can actually run 2 of them too if you wanted for more defense. You can see the difference there. You'll lose a lot of damage, but yeah, that's compared to this. Rhyme Gaze again, but this time it's corrupted. You can get any of the +2 corruptions that affect the cold damage over time skills. So it's going to be AoE, duration, or I think cold gems. Any of those corruptions work. We have for the other gear, it's high ES, high life, and then good implicits. Physical taken as fire, super important on that. Make sure you get that one. High ES, high life again for these ones. Important implicit on this is the cold damage leached as life, and then I guess a scorched ground is sort of important there. It's a small DPS boost. Make sure you get good movement speed on the boots as always. Ashes of the Stars, you don't need to allocate Tranquility, but it's a boost in damage and defense, so when you can allocate it, do it. Otherwise you can just do like Ash, Frost, and Storm. That one's cheap. The ring is high life, some res. And then this ring, I changed it. I had 2 of these initially, high life rings, but it's better to get 1 super high cold resistance ring so you can take advantage of the cold mastery. And you might be able to find one of these for cheap early on. Cheap-ish. Not cheap. Belt, strength, lots of life. It's really important to get a lot of life, as well as ES, because we're running low life and we don't have like a huge amount of chaos mitigation. Only 38k. It should be fine, but yeah, make sure you get high life and high ES, and then satisfy all the other requirements. Same flasks as last time. Jewels, life, ES, cold dot, maybe some stats, primordial bond jewels, anything else. Oh, the reservation. We have 2 of these. It doesn't have to be malevolence, but this helps with your gearing because it has the chaos res. But it could also be zealotry or purity of elements if you're using that. And then enduring composure is pretty important. You need you want those endurance charges. Very, very good. Too good, but yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, I have 1 awakened gem in here. May or may not have one by this point. Not mandatory, it's just in there because it fits with the budget of the build. This awakened gem shouldn't be too expensive. Could be wrong though. It's hard to predict the economy. Yeah, running discipline. I don't think we were running that last time. Yeah, so that's a new aura. And oh yeah, this is really big. Flesh and stone with arrogance. What was I running before? Low life. I actually don't have anything on this one, so I'm gonna add 1 to that. Okay, yeah, just that was a bit of a mistake. I added the life reservation to the previous tree, which gave us a nice little boost. Make sure you're in sand stance, or else flesh and stone isn't going to do anything for you. But yeah, it's a huge defensive boost, and we have a lot of area of effect, so it's going to cover most things. But yeah, so the only difference between these 2 trees is we're running discipline as well as our other auras and higher level stuff, pretty much. And I list here unused skills, but you should look at them. These are either utility, defense, or defense. This is damage, but it's really hard to run, so it's disabled. But yeah, it's just other stuff to think about. Okay, that's about all for 2 large clusters. Now 3. Yeah, this video is going pretty long, so again, I'm not gonna go into as much detail. If you have any questions, just come to me with them. Send a comment. But yeah, 3 large clusters here, 3 primordial bond nodes. The build, this is a very expensive, like endgame setup. 17 million DPS, very tanky. We busted our butts to run Righteous Fire. That's why the Fire Max hit is so big, which that will synergize really well with Shaper of Flames. So can unclick Bastion, or I guess Heart of Destruction to get Shaper of Flames. But yeah, the gear here is these 2 weapons are the same, I guess. You can get better ones, but these are really strong. So just have those. To get better than this, it's going to be a lot more expensive. So that's why they're just listed the same. The helmet is +4 to gems now. I don't know how attainable that is. It depends how expensive Rhyme Gaze is. If Rhyme Gaze isn't too expensive, then you can double corrupt these yourself and I guess dream of getting one, or maybe someone in Ultimatum drops one of these. But yeah, have a life search going if you are trying to set up the 3 large cluster and do all the Ubers slash T17s on damage over time. The gear is very high ES, high life, mostly same implicits as last time, but this time fire res, max fire res as well on the body plate, very important. Max fire res on boots, important. Running anathema for the multiple curses. Those corrupts are optional. They're just a damage and a defense boost. Not sure how hard it is to get a double curse ring. I'm not even sure if it's possible. Let me double check real quick. Yeah, I'm not going to check because it's taking too long, but if I can't get this, someone leave a comment and I'll fix it. I'll look it up myself as well if someone leaves a comment about that. We're running Tides of Time plus the Trader to have perma flasks. Kind of important. This ruby flask is most of our fire res. So if that goes down, you're in trouble. If you're running out of your ruby flask, you notice you can just unequip the Quicksilver or the Eternal. And if you don't want to do that, then you can get like a cluster or something for more flask charges. Shouldn't be too hard to get. But yeah, a lot of the gear in here, I'm not going to go over anything else. A lot of the gear is expensive, but it should be because this is going to clear the Ubers and the hardest content in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much all for the cold damage over time stuff. Initially this build was, or this POB was just like a bridge to get to that Forbidden Rite POB, but I was already so invested into it, I just took it all the way to the end game. So yeah, that's all for cold damage over time. Next I'll go over this Forbidden Rite Poison Minimalist POB. This pretty much means the minimal setup you should have before switching to Forbidden Rite. So gear that looks like this, skills that look like this. If you know your way around the game pretty well, obviously you can tweak it to your standards, less or more. But if you're new to the game, don't try and start Forbidden Rite without getting all this stuff. It's a hard skill to use. So it has a lot of different checkpoints you need in order to make it feel good. Just saved a point in all 3 POBs, nice. I don't think I'll go over this stuff. It's just CI gear, pretty much. The jewels aren't complicated. There's nothing that's like making or breaking in here. You just need a lot of ES, all max res, setup, 100% poison chance, stuff like that. That's why it's listed. If you're questioning about an item, these ones are for the extra curse. These are actually pretty necessary, these 2 pieces. But yeah, if you're questioning anything, just send a comment and I will try and clear it up. Skills. It looks similar to our other Forbidden Rite setups that I talked about in the previous video. It's just much less expensive, and it's still strong. Like this is 6 mil DPS and the max hits are really good. So yeah, Forbidden Rite is fine, I think, based on what I'm seeing here. We'll see how it plays in game. And yeah, some of this stuff is not even calculating. Like the Shaper of Winter node isn't applying. Let me fix some stuff real quick. Okay. I just had to fix the configs because they recently updated the POB to have the correct passives on the tree. So some of them aren't working. So you'll still have to like edit the configuration. But this is the only one that isn't working right now. But this is a very strong node, so I'm going to have it here anyways. Okay. I had to fix some tree stuff, but it's fixed. Not tree stuff, the configs. Yeah, this shouldn't be too expensive. I'm not going to list a price, but you should be able to do something like this for like, I don't know, your second character if you're mid maps or whatever. Red maps. But yeah, now I want to compare, like, how good is GOLEMXODIA? I showed off the 1000% tree the other day, and it looks amazing. But really, how good is it compared to other stuff? And I tried. It's not min-maxed right now because golems don't actually calculate on the POB, so we're not factoring in their levels and the increases of buffs we get from their levels. I can't wait for the skills update in POB, but we're just gonna have to deal with it as is for now. But yeah, so the minimalist setup, I'm gonna go over the max hits and the full DPS. That's all. There's other categories that the golems are giving us: mana regen, life regen, AoE, chaos res for other builds. And if you're using all 5 golems, then we're getting 2 more categories. But for this build, I'm just gonna go over the full DPS and the max hits, the differences between the trees. So minimalist has it only has primordial bond large clusters, nothing else. Forbidden Rite poison minimalist eminence has the large clusters plus the primordial eminence jewels, pretty much wherever we can get them, and as they are efficient. So between this one and the last one, we got about 1 million more damage DPS, and we lost like 5% max hit. So 10% damage and 5% max hit between those two. And then the last one to compare is if you get the Megalos nodes. This one was a little harder because it requires 2 passive points instead of just the jewel socket. So I did have to get rid of some nodes on the tree, but I tried to keep it like as accurate as possible comparison. So comparing the Megalos tree to the minimalist, we have 2.5 mil about more DPS. Whoops. 2.5 mil more DPS. So that's I'm just gonna put it in a calculator. One sec. So 36% more DPS between the Megalos tree and the minimalist. A lot more DPS. And we lost. I'm just gonna look at the physical max hit. We lost 2,000. Yeah, about 2,000 max hit. So 10% max hit for almost 40% DPS increase. So you can see the Megalos are super worth, in my opinion, for the damage. And there's probably, it is hard to get like, because you do need to invest in all these nodes, it is hard to get like enough tank to make up for the loss, but I think the damage increase is worth it. But yeah, it's something to feel out in game. These numbers aren't 100% accurate. Who knows if everything's even working, but once the POB is updated and stuff, then they'll be a little more accurate. But yeah, I'll go over my final thoughts for the GOLEMXODIA at the end of this video. The next section I'm going to cover is the notes. I guess I'm just going to look over it myself, and if there's any key points in here I really want to go over, I'll talk about it. Okay, so on the note of cold damage over time, there was buffs to vortex, and there might have been other buffs too. I guess arcane surge. I did not include those in the config, so it's underestimated for damage a little bit. And also the cold damage over time, one of the nodes is not working, so that's also a damage boost there. Well, I need to finish filling this out. Okay, so here is how to follow the guide. Leveling trees, cold damage over time. This is if you're doing cold damage over time. This is if you want to do forbidden rite. You have to start with the leveling trees. Feel free to level with whatever you want, but if you're following this guide, I only have cold damage over time leveling trees. So you'll have to follow that. Go into one large cluster, and then after this you can do forbidden rite. You'll need to fully respec and all that and find the gear before you switch over, but the currency point between these two builds should be about the same. And then if you want to do Ubers, you'll either go cold damage over time, 3 large cluster, or one of these trees. So yeah. Oh yeah, disclaimer, cold damage over time build, lots of buttons to press. If you don't like buttons, do not play cold damage over time. These ones, I kind of mentioned all these already. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask in the comments. And yeah, these are commonly asked questions or answers. I'll add to this as people ask more things. But yeah, that's about all for the notes section. Now I guess just final words for the video. This is a really long video. So let's keep this quick. So yeah, is GOLEMXODIA worth it? I think definitely. It's strong. The DPS is really good. The defenses are good, and I think its strongest point is you can do. You can branch out to like any build you want, almost. If it has damage over time, multi, and energy shield. I think that's the strongest point, is the flexibility. So you can whip out a bunch of different builds, or like try out a bunch of different skills with the GOLEMXODIA setup. So I think it's worth it. What does it excel at? Damage. Defenses are decent. Damage is really good. And then its flexibility. Yeah. And I guess the final thing I'm going to go over or say is my next video. I think I've settled on Herald stacking. That'll be my final POB before league start. I think it's going to be physical damage, a physical damage skill with Herald stacking, but that could change based on what I do in the POB. I'll see what numbers look good. And then my final video before the league starts is going to just go over all the different league start builds I have, and why I'm choosing which one. I'll say it right now, it's probably going to be the cold damage over time, because that looks the best for league start. But yeah, we'll see in a couple days. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Hopefully it wasn't a bore. It was a really long video. But yeah, we'll see you next time.